Yesterday, the United States and Iran signed a deal to end the war. The headlines called it a breakthrough. World leaders praised it, markets responded. The Strait of Hormuz, closed for months, is expected to reopen. And in the same 24 hours, Israel continued striking Lebanon. Iran threatened to suspend the negotiations, and 168 children killed on the first day of this war were remembered by their families at a stadium in Los Angeles. A deal was signed. The questions were not. This is the mass brief, and today we're going to ask them. Here's a full picture from the beginning. On February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel launched nearly 900 strikes in 12 hours, targeting Iran's military infrastructure, air defenses, and government leadership, assassinating Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. The strikes were launched during active negotiations over Iran's nuclear program. Iran responded by closing the Strait of Hormuz, through which 20% of the world's oil and gas passes, and launching retaliatory strikes across the region. In April, a first ceasefire was agreed, mediated by Pakistan. It collapsed. The United States imposed a naval blockade on Iran. New strikes continued into June. Then this week, everything changed. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif announced on Sunday that a peace deal had been reached. Trump confirmed it on Truth Social with the words, "The deal with the Republic of Iran is now complete." The deal was electronically signed on June 15. The official ceremony is this Friday, June 19, in Switzerland. Under the framework, the US naval blockade is lifted, Iran reopens the Strait of Hormuz, and 60 days of nuclear negotiations begin. Let's be precise about what was signed, because precision matters here. This is not a peace treaty. It is a memorandum of understanding, a framework, a roadmap, a ceasefire with paperwork, and a 60-day clock. The full text has not been released. Iran's foreign minister said all details will be shared with the public in due course. Iran state television framed it very differently from Washington, broadcasting a banner declaring the US has been forced to sign an agreement to end the war. Two sides signed the same document. Two sides are telling their people two completely different stories about what it means. That gap between those two narratives is where the next crisis will be born. Israel was not a party to this deal. Netanyahu's first response was to say that he and Trump do not always see eye to eye, which in diplomatic language is a significant statement. Israel's government has described the deal as a deep disappointment. And while the deal was being announced, Israel continued striking Lebanon. Iran threatened to suspend the negotiations over those strikes. Trump reportedly had to demand Israel halt the attacks to prevent the talks from collapsing entirely. Here's the structural problem this creates. The United States negotiated a peace deal with Iran. Its closest ally in the region was simultaneously conducting military operations that nearly derailed that deal. The US and Israel are not operating from the same strategy, and both sides know it. What happens to this framework if Israel strikes Iranian backed forces again? Nobody has answered that. While world leaders are preparing for a signing ceremony in Switzerland this Friday, there are things that will not be on the agenda. More than 1,700 civilians killed by US bombings in Iran, 22 schools and 17 healthcare facilities destroyed, millions displaced. Lebanon's death toll at 850. An Iranian family of four now spending 71.5% of their bare minimum wage on basic food. And at the FIFA World Cup in Los Angeles this week, Iranian fans unfurled a sign in the stadium in memory of the 168 children killed on the first day of this war in a US strike on an elementary school in Minab that the Pentagon later acknowledged was likely based on outdated targeting information. No signing ceremony addresses those children. No 60-day negotiation brings them back. The deal is necessary. The accounting is also necessary. And the world tends to prioritize the first and forget the second. The framework differs all critical nuclear questions to 60 days of negotiations beginning Friday. Trump had publicly insisted any deal must include Iran dismantling its nuclear program entirely. Iran has not agreed to this. Iranians, in exchange for concession, are hoping for economic relief, but the deal makes clear that relief would not be immediate. The Strait of Hormuz reopening is also not instant. Mine clearing, infrastructure repairing, and security guarantees means full shipping volume could take weeks to restore. 60 days is a very short window to resolve questions that negotiators have been unable to answer for 2 decades. What happens on day 61 if those questions remain unanswered? Is the story nobody is asking yet. The deal is real. The relief it brings to millions of people in the region is real. The strait reopening matters for the world economy. The end of active bombing matters for everyone living under it. The Maxed brief acknowledges all of that without hesitation, and a memorandum of understanding with no full public text, no resolution on nuclear questions, no accountability for civilians' death, and the key regional actor, Israel, who was not party to it, has already signaled its reservation. It's not the end of anything, it is a pause. The next 60 days will tell us whether this pause becomes a peace or a preparation for the next round. Watch what Iran says to its own people, not what it says in Switzerland. Watch whether Israel strikes in Lebanon continues after Friday. Watch whether the nuclear text that emerges in 60 days is on both sides can genuinely defend home. Those three things will tell everything the ceremony will not. The world is speaking, but most aren't listening.